Hello again. This is Better Living with Laurie Dodd. Thank you very much for joining us for this portion of the program today. This is a show where we're always searching for ways to make life better and for people who can help us on that journey. And our guest in this segment is definitely one of those people. He is here today to help us find that ever-elusive balance. And we're going to continue our discussion about stress today. And he is hopefully going to let us in on some secrets on how we can achieve some peace in our lives. Mattison, thank you very much for being with us today.
Laurie, thank you very much for having me on board.
Oh, my goodness. I am so excited to be talking about this topic. You've written a book called Life is the Perfect System. Tell me a little bit about that and about the journey of writing this book and what information you have to share with people. This is a topic that so many people need help with.
You know, it's funny, with that little introduction you just gave me, you talked about finding balance. And to me, that is exactly where we need to go first, is to learn how to find that mental, emotional balance, but also physical, nutritional, and other means. But people often talk about the law of attraction, right? Mm-hmm. And to me, it should be about the law of balance first. Because when you find balance, then naturally what's inside of you, your authentic self, will come up to the surface so you can manifest what you truly want, not what you think you want, what you truly actually want that fulfills your soul.
Okay, so it's really just an evolution of that then. It's not necessarily a different concept, but it's taking it a little bit further.
No, definitely. And again, when you find balance, and then everything starts to click. Everything starts to come together.
I mean, step it back a little bit, because I think most people are so inundated with the things that they deal with on a daily basis. You know, everything is stressful nowadays, and it's difficult to even learn how to slow ourselves down, to take that moment, to take a breath and realize maybe this isn't something to completely panic over, because everything feels like a panic.
No, you're absolutely right. Everything does. And here's the thing. When you're in that mode, your balance is thrown out of homeostasis, and we can't think clearly. Quite often it's been said that the thought is worse than the task. And when we are overthinking, our body never has that chance to really relax. And our natural state of being is that state of relaxation. I often tell clients when I'm working with them, we want to take you to the point where it feels like you're hanging out in Bora Bora, the sun's coming up, the weather is beautiful, and you're sipping a Mai Tai. You have no worries about the past, no worries about the future. If you can stay in that place of balance more consistently, you will find your intuition, and your intuition will give you the inspiration you need to create the purpose in your life.
Wow, I love that image you just painted, because I mean, I pictured myself on the beach. I mean, I was there with you, the vacation mindset. But what kind of tools can you give us to tap into that on a daily basis?
No, definitely. Again, let me go back to that saying, the thought is worse than the task. And many times when we're overthinking, our body never gets a chance to rest. Quite often what we're doing is when we're overthinking, we're not listening to our body's needs. And the first place that I take my clients to when I'm working with them is I get them so intimate with their physical body. I tell them, I want you to become better than a lie detector test to detect when your body is out of balance. Because when you can find anything outside of balance inside of your body's trying to tell you that there's something, a condition, a programming, something that feels off and needs to be cleaned out. Once you bring that up to the surface of your conscious mind, you can finally do something about it, and the body will relax. So the first and foremost point, get really intimate with your body, deeper than you ever have.
So where do we start? Walk us through some baby steps of how to achieve that, because I still think the majority of people are going to have difficulty. For instance, I love the idea of meditation, but finding the time to do it and training yourself to be able to do that are two completely different things and foreign to most people.
No, it is. Again, when I'm working with somebody, and I've got actually practical tools inside the book, Life is the Perfect System. When I'm working with somebody, I'm looking for three particular things, and it's called I call it a set. I'm looking for the physical sensation, I'm looking for the emotion, and I'm looking for the thought. Let me break this down just a little bit. So we have our conscious mind, which is our thinking mind. We have our subconscious mind, which is our emotional mind. And what's important to know about these two minds is the thinking mind does not feel, the feeling mind does not think. And this is why many times when you think something, and you could put all the rationale and all the logic and all the analyzation behind it, but emotionally, if you're not feeling it, they're going to battle against one another. And that battle gets taken out on the body. You literally can feel that stress on the body. So we've got to find a way to bridge these two minds together. How do we do that? By listening to what they really want. As a quick example, I remember working with a lady. She early 30s, and she comes in, and she goes, Matt, I don't understand it. All I want is a loving relationship, right? And she came in with a thick set of papers. She actually had a list of everything that she wanted in a man. When I was working with her, we come to a scene when she's about 4 years of age. Dad's trying to teach her how to tell time with one of the round analog clocks. Every time she would get it wrong, Dad would beat her, which is bad in and of itself. But what was even worse, and it seems more subtle, but it's actually worse, every time he would beat her, he would force her to say, thank you, Dad, for loving me. Now, if you remember, she came to me, and her thought was, all I want is a loving relationship. That's the thought. But the emotion that was attached with it was that scene, or many scenes like it, with Dad, training her that love meant some kind of mental or emotional abuse. So we've got to listen to the body, because if we can listen to the body, it will show us what we're hiding, bring it up to consciousness so we can look at it. And if we surrender to the body will let it go. We can't overthink it, we can't overanalyze it. Right? The thought and the feeling are completely different. But if you surrender to the body, it will take care of both.
How have we gotten to the point where worry has become a way of life?
It's been said that from the ages of 0 to 5, we learn more in that time frame than the rest of our entire lives. And I can have two clients come to me with the same particular issue. If one client comes in born more out of a place of balance, more out of love, 1 to 3 sessions, 4 sessions, she's gone, she's finished, we're taking care of her. If somebody comes to me from 0 to 5 years of age with a lot more stress in their lives as a result of what they grew up in, then that's going to take a lot more time, right? Because, again, from 0 to 5, we learn more in that time frame than the rest of our lives put together. So it really depends on that person's life. What has he or she gone through that has forced them to hold on certain emotions that are still playing out today?
It's going to force people to do some soul searching and find out what is causing us to act in the ways that we do, and how is that manifesting in our lives in different things that we do every day.
No, definitely. Like the law of attraction, when people often follow the law of attraction, they hear, we've got to feel excited about our particular things that we want to manifest, right? I've come to learn, though, excitement, the opposite for me is fear. But if you look at what they both do to the body, let's take fear, for example. Fear raises the blood pressure, raises the heart rate. It creates manic thoughts, right? And if we look at the opposite and we look at excitement, excitement is the exact same thing. Raises the blood pressure. Pulse rate goes up, creates manic thoughts. They're just the same thing on opposite sides of the coin. They both pull you out of balance. Balance is where you have clarity. So when you're pulled out of that balance, you're not meant to stay there indefinitely, right? We have to clear those excess emotions constructively. When we can clear them, then we can come to that place of being on Bora Bora, we're relaxing at ease, and then we see the entire picture.
When someone comes to you, how do you start them on this journey? Okay, let's say someone says, I want to find balance in my life. I want to be more at peace.
I'm glad you actually mentioned that. In the back of the book, I actually have a process, and it goes something like this. First, we want to find balance. The more balance we can find in our life, the more we'll move into peace. The more peace we have in our life, the more we'll be able to listen to our intuition. The more we can listen to intuition, we'll create inspiration. From that inspiration, we'll move into purpose. And then that purpose will create the manifestations that our soul truly desires to have. And from there, we will have trust and knowingness that our life is exactly where it's supposed to be. So how do I start? Again, most people are so disassociated from their body. They're constantly in their thinking mind. It's amazing. I can ask somebody, like I'll say, well, okay, tell me your problem. And they'll say, well, tell me, how does that feel in their body? And then and they'll give me thoughts. They'll say stuff, well, when I think about it, it just makes me think that life is just unfair. And that's not the question I ask. I have to keep drilling them down. I go, when you think about that physically, does that feel comfortable or uncomfortable to you? Right? And finally, they'll give me an answer. The first step for me is helping them to realize that their emotions and their thoughts are tied to their physical body. And it's a physical body that needs attention, because when it's relaxed, you will have clarity of mind.
Let's talk a little bit about that. You've mentioned a couple of times overthinking, the process of overthinking things. Do you have a system for beginning to retrain yourself to not overthink things, to sort of change that aspect of yourself?
Yes, definitely. And I don't mean to keep belaboring this point, but for example, when people focus on the idea of law of attraction, many times what they're doing is actually they're just trying to paint over a dirty fence. Basically, they're trying to overthink their emotions. And there's a saying that goes, you know, what we resist persists, and many times we're resisting our emotions because we think that if we bring up our emotions, it will last forever. But it's not true. It's actually the opposite. When we can finally face what we've been hiding, those emotions can finally come up to the surface, and they don't really last that long, especially if you get specific. And when I say specific, I'm talking about what I talked about earlier, finding the sensation, the emotion, the thought, the set, which, again, I talk about in the book extensively. But once we can find that specific emotion and bring that up to the surface, it's like most people take a breath just from bringing it up. It's as if their body says, oh, thank you. I've been holding on to that forever. Let me say this. You and your body made an agreement before you came into this world. Your body said, Matt, whenever you get into a situation that it feels uncomfortable for you and you can't express it at that moment, I will hold on to it for you. But this body is finite. At some point, I need you to look inside to see what you've been hiding so that I can let it go. And when we can finally look inside, our muscles will relax. It's almost like it releases the emotion you've been holding on to. And that emotion, for the subconscious mind, that ties into similar emotions that have been held inside of you. And once you can find that specific emotion, that specific sensation thought, it will release. And so many people, it's so amazing to see when you're in my office, you can see them. They go from being so tight, and when you can finally find that set, their bodies just relax so deeply. It's amazing to see.
I have so many more questions for you, but we have to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Better Living with Lori Dodd in just a bit.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole, or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the program. This is Better Living with Laurie Dodd. Thank you so very much for being with us today. We are very fortunate in this segment to be speaking with transformational coach and author of the book Life is the Perfect System, Mattison. Thank you so very much for being with us today, Matt.
Thank you again, Laurie.
You're very welcome. Now, one of the things that we kind of touched on a couple of times in the last segment, I want to see if you can give us some guidance on how we can drill down ourselves. How can we get at the root of some of the things that are causing some of our issues?
No, definitely. As I mentioned, first and foremost, listen to the body because the body will tell you what's going on. Let me give you a quick example. I'm 45, going to be 46. When I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I was diagnosed with hypertension. I mean, like really high hypertension, 160, 170 over 100, 110. And for a young person, that's crazy. And for 3 years, my chest was always hurting. I had something called angina as well, which is basically just chest pain. Every morning, I would wake up. I would pop my eyes open. I would just literally jump out of bed, grab my heart, open my eyes, and say, oh, my God, am I still alive? Because every day I had that fear inside of me like I was going to die. It was really horrible. Then one evening, I wake up. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning. My heart is pounding. It was probably going like over 140 beats per minute. I had that feeling in my chest like an elephant was sitting. I couldn't breathe. And I turned over to my girlfriend at the time. I said, call 911, call 911. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I always kept a blood pressure cuff next to me, next to my bed. I put it on, and it was about 250 over 160, which is twice as much as what it should be. And so she's on the phone. And at this point, I was about a year into my career. And she was on the phone. I could hear the operator. And she had enough frame of mind, God bless her, to look at me, and she put the phone down just a little bit. She said, are you sure you want me to finish this call? Or is it just some emotions and feelings that need to come out? Because she had seen my work, heard about me, talk about it, and she asked me that question. And when she told me that, my mind went to all the people I was helping. It went to my work, and I told myself, if I follow through with this call and not do what I tell everybody to do, I will feel like a complete fraud. I basically said, forget it, put the phone down. If I die tonight, I die. So I really had to put to the test what I've been teaching and sharing. And that evening, I found some memories because I was listening to my chest and my heart. And my heart was taking me back to certain scenes in my life. Some really personal scenes that I actually talk about in the book, and it's really fascinating. Everybody loves the book because they really get a good look into my life. And it brought me back to scenes where mom and dad were fighting all the time. I'd be in bed, and back then I was getting anxiety attacks, and many times my attacks would happen in bed. I would be laying there at 4 or 5 years of age, and mom and dad would be fighting. Mom would jump up in the bed and say, not in front of the boy, not in front of the boy. Well, my dad was chasing her. And I had to pretend that I was sleeping because I just could not deal with all of that trauma. Long story short, I revisited some other scenes that happened in my life that evening. After doing extensive cleaning, I saw my blood pressure drop from that 250 down to 115 over 75.
Wow.
It came down. I released all that pressure and all that stress inside my body, and I just looked at that and I go, and I've seen it with other people but I didn't see it with myself. And I looked at that and I go, oh my God, this stuff works, right? So we've really got to listen to our body. Our body will tell us. But many times when people start listening to the body, they try to go too deep. Do not try to go too deep. Just ask yourself, this is the basic step I have when I'm looking for a set, the sensation, motion, thought. First thing I say, think about the topic, whatever it may be. I want to lose weight, right? How does that feel in the body when you think about being overweight? And they'll say, oh, I feel it in my stomach, right? And I'll say, can you describe that to me? Oh, my stomach feels heavy, and it just feels full. And then I'll say, let's let the body speak. The thought of my stomach feeling so heavy and full emotionally makes me feel. And they'll repeat it, and they'll say, emotionally, it makes me feel sad, right? And so now we got the sensation, which is the stomach, the emotion, which is sad. Now we want the thought. Then I say, and then say, answer this, I feel sad because, and they'll say, I feel sad because nobody likes me. We just found the set, right? And from there are various ways of trying to release that particular set from the body, which is connected to every time they felt that way in the subconscious mind, by the way. There's certain techniques out there. You can use meditation. You can use contemplation. You can use something called EFT, otherwise known as tapping. I won't go too deep into it. You can find out about it. It's called Emotional Freedom Technique on the Internet. But there are various ways. I really don't care what technique you use. The most important part is that you found that set. And that's what needs to be expressed.
So tell me this, though. Does it require you being in distress? I mean, to really get to the root of some of these problems, does it require like a life-altering situation like you were in? Or is it something that people can do before it gets there?
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, many times by the time people get to my office, it's just an accumulation of emotions and sets that they've held in. Again, if you take those two people from 0 to 5, that's the most important part. 0 to 5 to 5 years age, we'll learn more in that time from the rest of our lives put together. And it really depends on, I could have somebody who had an amazing life from 0 to 5, but maybe they had one traumatic event when they were in their 20s, right? They would come into my office, and all we'd really have to do is work on that traumatic event. And it may not even be really traumatic. It might be something as, getting into a car accident, right? And they didn't let go of the emotion because they were so scared. They were frozen. They were paralyzed. And they had to go into shock in order to get through that event. Their body had to shut down because they couldn't deal with what just happened, right? So it literally stays in shock. And they get into my office. And all we do is release the shock and the emotions that were tied to that particular scene, and all of a sudden they can relax again, right? It doesn't have to be something really traumatic. It could be an accumulation of smaller events that finally led to the straw that breaks the camel's back.
It is a lot to process because it's not necessarily new. I've heard this kind of information in different ways, but
yes,
you help to crystallize it in a way that makes it a little bit more understandable, I think. And so it is a lot to think about. It's a lot for people to achieve. It's difficult to force yourself to get to that point that you realize, I got some weight to lose, and then 10 pounds becomes 20 pounds, becomes 30, and then you realize it's getting serious. And what is it that's blocking you, that's keeping you from achieving that goal?
No, definitely. At first, when you start really diving in, it may take a little time, may take a little more effort, but I promise you this: after you get past a certain point, you can literally release sets in a matter of seconds and minutes. I like to think of it as taking a shower. It's like you take a shower before you go to work, you go out and you get dirty, you come back, next day you got to take another shower. Right? It's kind of like the same thing with releasing emotions and releasing all this stuff that's what you've held inside of you. You just can't expect to release once and think that going out into the world you're never going to get dirty again. But the more you actually practice this, the more you find your sets, it'll be so quick and so simple. And I explain it again in the book. It's so easy. You'll be able to be standing in line, for example, and the cashier is taking his or her time talking to the customer, and you're going, oh, this is horrible, and you're overthinking,
Right.
you're overthinking the situation, right? But, you'll be able to sit there and go, okay, what am I doing? Okay, my body, my shoulders feel tight. Okay, the thought of my shoulders feeling tight because I'm watching this makes me feel upset. I feel upset because she's not being mindful of the rest of the customers. And just that understanding alone, because you've listened to the subconscious, the conscious, and the battle between the two inside of the body, it releases almost automatically. And then it doesn't have to build anymore. The more you can do that, the more your body will stay relaxed.
Really it's a daily process. It sounds like it's something that the more you practice it, maybe the better you'll get at it.
Yes, and really, it's not that difficult. I mean, we're talking about it, but again, the more practice, and so, and when I say practice, you don't have to sit here and practice hours at a time. You can just practice, 5 minutes a day.
I'm already overthinking the practicing, aren't I?
No, but again, there's exercises in the book. If you just do it, take 5 minutes out of your life. You're talking about your entire life, right? If you can just take 5 to 10 minutes out of your life to practice this, you'll get so good at it, it'll start to go up faster and faster. You can do it on a moment's notice.
Tell us a little bit more about the race, and how does that tie into this?
Yes. There's something I like to call the race. The race is basically the more we can release and cleanse out the emotions inside of us, the more the body relaxes. But because we tend to overanalyze, because we tend to overthink, we totally disassociate from our body. When we are overthinking, our body is literally in a state of anxiousness. It's not relaxed. So the more we can find those sets, the more we can relax. It's like a hose. It's like putting your thumb over the hose and there's little water coming out. The more we find the sets, it's like taking your thumb off the hose and all of a sudden it just squirts out and you're feeling more at ease. Right? So the more you can release your emotions, the better and faster your body's going to relax and you'll find balance and peace.
Yeah, but for that couple of minutes right after you release it, you're going to explode. If you're holding that water and you're holding those emotions in for a long period of time, possibly even years for some people, and then this stuff starts trickling out, you're going to be a mess.
Yeah, no. You would think, but here's the thing. That's why the body will not give you more than you can actually handle. This is why I see, like when I talk to other therapists and coaches, and what they're trying to do, they try to get too deep too quickly, right? And I say in the book, don't go too deep. Your body will know exactly what to share with you so that you can handle it. It's like peeling the layers of the onion. Start on the outside. You don't have to go so fast, so deep in, right? And when you can keep peeling those layers, when the subconscious mind is ready, it will say, wow, you've been doing a wonderful job, Matt. You know what? I think you're ready. Here's the bigger piece. By that time, you will be ready to face it.
This is fascinating. Again, the book is called Life is the Perfect System. Do you have a website where people can find out more information?
No, definitely. You can go to my personal website. It's mattison.com, MattSison.com, or lifeistheperfectsystem.com, and the book is available on Amazon.
Excellent. Do you want to leave people with one final thought?
Yes. If I had to share anything, the whole book, my whole thing is learning how to live an authentic life. And what does, we hear that all the time, live authentically, but what does that mean? It basically means living up to your own particular standards without the woulds and shoulds of other people's understanding of what your life should be. The more we can let go of people's woulds and shoulds, the more we'll live out of our authentic being.
I love it. All right, so we're going to check out mattcison.com, and we're going to go get the book. It's called Life is the Perfect System. Thank you so very much for sharing your wisdom, your insights, your expertise with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lori.
You're very welcome. To our listeners, thank you for choosing to spend some time with us today. We invite you to do so again next weekend, same time, for Better Living with Lori Dodd. Until then, have a great week.
Broadcasting on a 7-second delay from the Children's Health Studio, KJKK-FM and HD1 Dallas-Fort Worth. This is 100.3 Jack FM.